We're 31 minutes after the hour. Good morning, Coco, Joseph, Tiffany, Glenn. I don't know if Sydney up or is she in bed already or she playing games. One of them. But good morning, brother. How you doing this morning?
Well, it's good evening for
Yeah,
me, but
that's
it's
right.
good
That's
morning for
right.
you. Right? So it's a very good evening, good morning. Hopefully, I appreciate all the work you did and do. Your name and you live up to it. MacGyver is coming through, man. If I need
Man,
somebody to check on the house or do whatever, for the house, it's always done to the highest level possible. So
but it
wait,
was funny because I had already walked in, and you text and said, "Is that you?" Yes, it was me.
yeah, I saw the truck, and then I played the little video back, and I saw you walking in. I said, "Well,
Yeah.
it's a bald headed brother that looked like
Oh,
head
see.
kind of like shaped like mine." So I said, "It can't be you, so it got to be you." So
Yeah, but it was
that
hot yesterday. I ain't gonna lie to you. I didn't think we broke a record yesterday till I got home. And my lovely wife had called and got stuck by the train. And her first deal is, "What you pull out for dinner?" I wasn't having it yesterday. She didn't bother to ask that. She must have knew. She said, "You want me to pick up something?" I said, "Yes, ma'am. You sure can. You can help a brother out." So
good, good that you eating, man. And, taking
yeah,
care of yourself because you do a lot, man. So I heard about you and saw what you did for Juneteenth. So good work with that. You were working hard there too.
thank you, thank you. Hey, that's what we do. That's what we do. Like I said earlier, talking that we're not friends, we're family. And that's what family do for family. No
That's right.
questions asked. If you can't do it, so you can't do it. But if a family member asks you, "Hey, I need some help right here," anybody know me, I'm over there. It doesn't
Yeah.
take much for me to get over there because I'll get over there right away, do my thing, then go ahead and leave, and I'm done. And I know our whole family is like that. Glenn, Tiffany, Cheryl, Sharon, Veronica, our Crystal and Tony, we all got that inner circle that if we need anything, we're there to help each other out. Now, Coco, on the other hand, that's my sister right there. I mean, she had me working like a Hebrew slave out there, building that deal out there. And but you know what I did? I put
It
them
looks
to work
good.
too. I wasn't doing it by myself. I was showing them how it's done. What they say in the Bible, you could teach a man to fish, so yeah. But anyway, you get off my soapbox. So you heard about some of the shootings we had over here during Juneteenth. Like we said before, we can't go a week without something happening, and it's at the point that it's way beyond out of hand, out of control. It's way beyond that. I'm going back to that one show that you did when you had the chaplain on from the Congress or Senate, one of the houses saying enough is
Mhm.
enough. We have to
Mhm.
stop this.
You
But
do?
when is it going to reach that tipping point? To me, it already reached a tipping point, but we got ears that don't want to hear what's going on.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a reoccurring thing, to talk about, unfortunately, gun violence in the United States. And, I think it's again, that misunderstood, understanding of the Second Amendment of what, we have a right to. And, it's one of those things where, you're so free, you're imprisoned by your freedom, right? Because freedom is a responsibility, and also comes with a price. But the responsibility of freedom is that you have to be educated to what the consequences of your actions are. So, we have these weapons out here, and it's a saturation of those weapons in the American society. And then you got people. I don't know if they realize it, but if you remember the pandemic, if you go to places like Nardis in San Antonio, these are like huge gun warehouses. And I remember I went in there and I had so I was getting some ammo or whatnot, and I looked, and every single one of the gun shelves are empty. Every single one of them. But what I didn't see empty was the safes. So what does that tell you? There's a lot of guns that possibly unsecured out there. A lot of people that really don't understand the responsibility that goes along with having a firearm, a semi-automatic firearm, and not even being trained on it. So, and then we have to, couple that with the mental health, issue and crisis that's going on in the country. So, I kind of put up some information and looking at, mental health, and one of the things that some of the stats that were out there, and just talking about, how invasive um, mental health issues are. And I'll probably see if I can pull up those statistics again. But, just understanding like what is mental health? What does it look like when you're healthy mentally? And, one of the things that we looked at back in 2020, well, in 2023, according to the World, I think it was the Mental Health Foundation, was what was the theme was anxiety. And anxiety actually is one of the things that, if it goes unchecked, will lead to a lot of mental illness. So to kind of give you a definition of anxiety, and this is a lengthy one, but I'm going to go to this for a second, because I think it kind of shows kind of how serious of an issue it is. So I can pull it up. Let me see. Anxiety is a multi-system. And I think you need to understand what that means. Multi-system meaning multiple areas of the body are affected in response to a perceived threat or danger. It reflects a combination of biochemical changes in the body, the patient's personal history and memory, and the social situation. So when you look at anxiety, it's not just a psychological phenomenon; it's a physical phenomenon, and it can cause people's behavior to change. So when you couple that with the media and the inundation of negative programming, the demonization of people, and then you've got just the influx of firearms. I won't forget what when I flew into Japan. I think we were flying into Tokyo, and the air flight attendant, he kind of was hesitant. Japanese people are very respectful. They try not to be offensive. And we were just kind of talking about the gun violence situation. I don't know how we got on that topic or whatnot, but it's a topic everybody's talking about. Gun violence in the United States. And when he said this, it really stuck with me. And I think we need to say this on every show. I think we said it last time too, but it stuck with me that he said that, when you get into Japan, one of the biggest differences from the United States and Japan is that Japan is still a civilized society.
Mm.
And when he said that, he kind of said it like, I'm not trying to be offensive, but that's the perception that, that is out here about, the United States. And obviously we have some great people in the United States. We have some great folks that are trying to do great things, but we have a problem that's out of control. And a lot of it is stemming from anxiety and the so-called, if you remember the definition, the perceived threat or danger. Now, when you perceive a threat or danger, it doesn't necessarily have to be valid. See, now I'm going to class, give a little class a little bit, because I've been trained on how to treat folks with anxiety. So there's a little part of your brain called the amygdala. The amygdala does not act on rational thought. It's kind of like a defense mechanism. So to kind of give people an idea of how the amygdala works, if you've ever gone outside and you've seen something, out the side of your eye, and you think, oh my God, that's a dog. And you start running before you are reacting, before you even look. And then you look back and you look and it's a bush. And you're like, man, come on now. I just went through all this over a bush. But in your mind, it already made that bush into something, So that's how the amygdala works. So you got to couple that with what's going on in the media, where we're talking about all these folks, coming across the border, all the criminals, all the this, that, and the other. So people are buying up all this ammo, buying up all these weapons, and then they are becoming what they're scared of. In a lot of cases, their children are becoming the threat. because they're sitting out there with the War Machine creator, the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox, and they're not coupling that with reality. So they're practicing. When you play on Call of Duty, you're killing multiple people, over and over again, and you get a reset. But in real life, there is no reset. That's it, right? And then you have the lack of social skills, right? And you have this thing out here, social media, phones, cell phones, giving you a distorted view of reality. So you kind of have to peel back all the layers and look at how we have anxiety that you have to have checked. And now that I'm kind of in an environment where the anxiety level is lower, you feel the difference. You feel, I'm sitting seaside when I get up in the morning. I'm looking at the ocean. Um, I'm kind of taking a diet from the news. I hit the bullets. I know about some of the things that are going on, but I'm not constantly watching like I used to. And like we used to always talk about, the shootings that were going on and this, that, and the other. And I noticed that, I'm feeling better. I'm feeling better. I'm feeling, I don't know if it's the scenery, I don't know if it's the greenery, I don't know if it's the food, whatever. But I do believe it's the diet from watching over and over again the things that are going on. Now, I'm not saying, and I'm not condoning folks to be unaware and not be situationally aware, but we know there's a problem. We know there's a problem with guns. We know there's a problem with people, shooting. So we just need to be situationally aware, but we don't need to fixate, because when you fixate, that perceived threat or danger gets bigger. Your body is in a constant state of protection or protecting others. And then you've got folks like, the gentleman, I forget what state it was, somebody pulls up in the driveway and they shoot because they pulled up in their driveway.
Yeah.
Uh, or the lady that just accidentally got into the wrong car, and the guy gets out and comes over to her car and shoots and kills her for just making a mistake. And this is obviously wasn't a threatening person. This is a cheerleader, for God's sake, that just happened to get into the wrong car at the wrong time, make an honest mistake. A lot of these cars look alike. And, but that's everybody's on edge because of this anxiety. So I think people need to be aware of what anxiety is, and what it can be done to address it. So one thing is just being conscious of your state. How are you feeling? Knowing what on edge is. If you're irritable, if you don't have your attention span is very short. You can't remember, just the smallest things. That's it. Heart rate, going up and staying up, not being able to relax, not able to come down. So that also can lead into heart disease. It can come in. Anxiety is a problem. It's not just a psychological problem. It's also a physical problem. It can then affect your behavior. It can affect your relationships. It can affect your decisions, all of that. So just a couple of things to kind of improve your mental health in 2023. I want to give some people some tips. I mean, we don't a lot of times get the mental health part, and I want to focus on that a little bit, because I think for us, it's extremely important to not just be aware, but also know what to do to help with your mental health. So the first thing you can do is, take action to improve your self-esteem. Stop beating yourself up over the smallest things that, we're very hard on ourselves. We have a circle that we lift each other up. We're positive, we speak positive things. Now we might joke with each other, but it's in love, and we can take it, right? And we joke with
Yeah.
each other, that type of stuff. But you have to do some things to improve your self-esteem, not being so hard on yourself. Another thing to do to help with that is, number two, don't compare yourself to others. That whole thing about keeping up with the Joneses. Oh, they get a new car. Oh, I got to get a new car. Oh, they got
Right.
nice clothes and nicer clothes. I got to get nicer clothes. One of the things I notice about the folks here in Japan, a lot of the cars are about the same. Now you might see, or, at least in the area in Okinawa I'm at, you see a few cars that are nicer, but a lot of times they're older. And actually, it doesn't make sense to drive a big car here because the roads are very small, right? So you've got more of a quality of life focus, not a quality of thing focus. And I always tell people this, and I talk to folks that, have this overemphasis on material items. I always say, I've been to a lot of funerals, but I've never seen a U-Haul behind a hearse. So you're not going to take it with you. Enjoy some things, but don't let that be the focus. Are you really wasting a lot of your life on things that really don't, make a difference? They're not going to remember necessarily the car you have, but they are going to remember the influence and the impact that you have on people's lives. And that's what you want to be remembered for, not the fact that you have a nice car that they just wrote off, a nicer one, off the lot, and they're going to have a nicer one than that the next year. So, we get kind of lost on that wheel. That can affect our mental health. Live in the present moment. We're doing that every day. I know our family right now, we get up in the morning. I got on Sydney today, made her get off the electronics and made her just watch the sunset with me. Because think about it, how often, there's so many things we take for granted. My wife says all the time that, we need to, she makes my daughter, when she sees flowers or whatever, she makes my daughter go smell the flowers, right? It's the little things that really bring joy. We have to learn how to live in the moment, not constantly worry about the things that may happen, may not happen, whatever. We have to learn how to live in the moment, be aware of what's going on, but live in the moment, enjoy the moment. This is one that I'm trying to work on myself, and I encourage everybody to do. And this one is very, very important with anxiety, and that is exercise regularly. You have to exercise regularly. One of the things I put in a treatment plan for people that have depression is to do some type of cardiovascular, getting those endorphins going, getting that adrenaline flowing. That will help to push you out of depression. Another thing I recommend people do, if you can, is swim. If you're, depressed, because I'm gonna tell you something, you can't really focus on too much other than that water when you're in it. Number one. Number two, it's something that happens when you swim. It just kind of helps relax you. It kind of helps you to, just get to a different place, different focus. And once I see people get moving, start swimming, whatever, almost 98% of them get, they feel better. They report feeling better like with the next session or two. This one is very important. I'm going to pause for it because I just want everybody that's listening to think about, what do you do daily for self-care? If you're working all day, coming home and working at night, and you're not taking at least, an hour or two out your day to just do something for you. I don't care what it is. And actually, it shouldn't, it doesn't have to be something electronic, just sitting there relaxing. And here's a little test. If you can't sit for about 5 minutes and not do something, that might be a problem. Not think about anything. Just try to sit and not do anything. Do some deep breathing. There's apps out here called Calm and all kind of stuff. You don't have to pay any money. There's relaxation apps on YouTube you can get. Take some time just for some self-care. And that also includes things like maybe going to get a massage. I know, there's a taboo for some folks, but really in reality, it's a myth because, I was in the Army and wearing the boots all day. My feet were killing me. My wife dragged me in one day to get a pedicure. And I was like, well, I ain't going unless you going, because I ain't gonna be sitting up there getting a pedicure and I'm gonna be the only man in there, right? Man, I got back to the shop, got back to the base, and every soldier in there was like, yeah, man, we've been getting pedicures for years. Things and the misconceptions of things we have about not taking care of ourselves, taking care of our health. And, which really for soldiers, for military personnel, if you're wearing boots all day, that's kind of a commonsensical thing to take care of your feet. And actually, they tell you to take care of your feet. Mm-hmm. Drink water, change your socks. Well, it should be drink water, change your socks. In the case you get a pedicure when your corns get bigger than your foot, you need to do something about that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Walking around looking like a dinosaur. You know, you need to get some help. Real talk. So and that could so self-care can look different for everybody, but do something to relax yourself and just, you know, and one thing you could do is cut the cell phone off. I love when I call people and it says phone silenced. I love that because what it's telling me is that this person understands the importance of taking some time to say, you know what, I'm unavailable right now. This is my time to focus on family, to focus on my health, to focus on my sleep, whatever. Don't be like me and leave the phone on all the time. And 4 o'clock in the morning, Ron, you know what you got? I just thought of something, or you calling me or whatever. I mean, yeah, I got to make my sleep up, you know. So after we get off of here, I got a couple more things to do. Then I'm going to bed, and I'm gonna make sure I get my sleep, you know, tonight, right? So you got
Yeah.
to take some time for self care, take care of yourself. The last thing I'm going to say, this is 6 point, is start a psychotherapeutic process. Start a psychotherapeutic process. So what does that mean? First of all, you got to be introspective, meaning you got to know what's going on with you. And then, you know, if there's some things that are stressors or what we call triggers, things that kind of, you know, set you off to being mad, depressed, upset, whatever, you got to do some things to kind of deprogram that. So that could be as simple as, you know, we all got folks that call you and you look at that phone and you go, man, I don't really know if I can feel like this today. You know what I'm saying? So your therapeutic process for those folks could be don't pick up the phone. Let it go to voicemail. And when you feel like you're able to take care of that or deal with that situation or the drama that they might be bringing to you know, then you can engage with that. So that could be a psychotherapeutic process. Um, you know, there's so many self-help books, you know, reaching out to a therapist, you know, talking to someone that can kind of help you see you and make the changes. That can be a therapeutic process. And that's what therapists do. We write a treatment plan for you and we help you to, you know, adhere to that. And then my goal is to work myself out of a job. Once you got the tools, show you how to use them, and then you can know when things are off base and then, you know, utilize your therapeutic process to get back on track. And then sometimes things happen and it gets a little harder. You need some different tools. And then that's when you come to, you know, you kind of revisit and we kind of adjust your plan so you can use those therapeutic tools. So just wanted to give some folks some ideas on how they can actually help with their therapeutic process. The only way I could do what I've been doing for 15 years if I didn't use some of these tools myself, and I know when I have to unplug. And I'll be honest with you, one of the reasons why I'm in Japan right now is because of the work that I was doing through COVID. My wife would tell you, I was working. She said she gave me a new name. She called me a Jamaican. She said I had about 8 jobs.
Yeah.
So, you know, shout out to the Jamaican community, some of the hardest working people in the world. But you know what? You can work yourself to death. And, you know, not all money is good money. If you can't enjoy it, what's the point in making it? You know, if you're working so hard, you're so tired, you barely want to get in the car to go get something. I remember my wife we go to celebrate and so many positive things were happening, but I was so tired for working to make those positive things happen. I didn't even want to go out and enjoy it. And I don't know if my wife is listening right now. She probably remembers sometimes I would say, I don't feel like going out to eat. I just want to go to sleep. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he's there, you know, you gotta, you know, back up. And I've got fraternity brothers, you know, I've got folks we've talked about it, they're making really good money, but not enjoying it because of their health. And I think it was a men's workshop a couple years ago. And this gentleman was an executive at a hospital, and he made such a very good point. He almost suffered from this thing called sudden death syndrome, and he was at church. He had just worked to get this mega church in the Detroit area up and going, and it was New Year's Eve, and he said his eyelids just started going down, and there was nothing he could do about it. And when he woke up, he had got the old. He talked about the old Nurses Guild out of the way, and got some EMTs and had some people in there that knew what to do. And he had just implemented that before the New Year's Eve party. And when they had the New Year's or watch party, whatever you call it, he woke up on the floor with them reviving him and getting him to the hospital. And when he got to the hospital, because I guess the syndrome, the sudden death syndrome that he had, he said, "Well, we have to understand as men and women now. It's not just men because men and women are going through this now. We work so hard to make money, and then we end up spending all that money on recapturing our health." And he said, that's the cycle. You know, you get to a certain point where you've made this money, then you have to spend all the money you made getting your health back together. So we got to step off the hamster wheel and go, you know what? I'm going to enjoy some things right now
Yeah.
because tomorrow isn't guaranteed for one. We got some serious folks. Shout out and prayers to Jamie Foxx. I hope that he's recovering well. I hope and pray that he is. But, guy on top of the world, one of my favorite entertainers. But I'm sure he would tell you, man, tomorrow is not guaranteed. It doesn't matter how much money you have. In fact, probably the more money you have, the more likely you're going to have issues because you
Yeah.
have to grind, you have to focus, you have to do all those things. And working out sometimes goes to the wayside. Taking care of yourself sometimes goes to the wayside. So take care of yourself. Take time for self-care. Self-care is also working out and exercise.
Well,
So,
I'm glad you said that. I got Vicky from San Antonio listening to you. She just asked this question, um, working out and all that stuff. What can we do for our mind? What exercise can we do for our mind? I thought that was a good question because we got to do something like I know that older people play crossword puzzles and all that stuff to keep their
mm-hmm.
mind sharp. And I basically do the same thing. My wife, I was doing, I'm playing a game, I'm doing something. She looked at it, what good is that? I say, it's keep my mind sharp. Because
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day of me being on radio all day, the last thing I want to go home to is being on the radio. So I close my office door and I go sit in the living room with my wife and watch TV, or I'm playing some of my game, or I'm just sitting there,
Yep.
or I go out and sit on my patio out there. Just something to just get away from everything.
So I think you just answered the question right there. Getting away from everything. Okay. Um, Cutting the phones off, cutting the TV off, and just being still. Just sitting out in the backyard, listening to birds chirp. Or right now, when I open up this window and I can hear the ocean, you know, I'm not going to open up the window right now because there's no screen on those windows. I don't know what they don't like screens in Japan. And if something fly in this window, this is going to be a short interview because I'm getting out of here. But the fact of the matter is, the way you take care of your mind is to simplify your life a little bit. There's this place called the Fetzer Institute. And the Fetzer Institute, what they do is they basically have you go out and live in like these hermitages or whatever, and there's no technology. You're probably right next door to the Amish, um, and you just really slow your life down. Pick up a book, read, read something that you like, not necessarily something academic or working or whatever. Just read. Go back to finding a good novel or something, and just relaxing and getting back in touch with nature. And I remember when I went to the Fetzer Institute, it was kind of scary the first time because here I'm out here in the woods and don't have a signal on my cell phone. I'm thinking of Jason, Freddy Krueger, and then in the movies, what happened to the black guy? We the first ones that something crazy happened to. So all these things. But then once I finally relaxed and it opened up the windows, got the breeze in there, and it's something just kind of snapped where you just kind of relax and you get this peacefulness and this stillness. And they give you a warning when you first get there, and you kind of think they're crazy, and they tell you, hey, when you get ready to go back into society, it's going to be a little bit of a shock. Everything's going to be going by so fast. I'll never forget. I felt like a senior citizen going around the S curve, because I had gotten so relaxed and so calm that, that need to speed, that need to push, that need to get, somewhere ahead of this car because it's not going fast enough. All of that kind of had dissipated. So, to answer the question is you got to unplug, disconnect. And every day, every night, and actually before you go to bed, you should be disconnected from electronics for about an hour and a half to 2 hours before you start going to sleep. There's been all kind of studies on if you're looking at your cell phone before you go to sleep, most likely you're going to have some difficulty. It could lead to insomnia and other sleep issues. And then, how many times have you started looking at something on Facebook or whatever, and you get in that rabbit hole where you look up, oh man, it's been 2 hours. I've been, watching just stupid stuff,
Yeah.
videos of, whatever, people getting smacked or knocked out, whatever, for doing stupid stuff, whatever. You have to learn how to shut your mind down because what happens is you got the front part of your mind, and you got your subconscious. Your subconscious is always spinning. So if you don't stop feeding your mind, your mind is always working. Everybody heard of a nervous breakdown. That's when your brain is like, I need a break, and your brain goes on a break. It
It
says,
will.
I'm done. So there's some entertainers that had that, and some of it is drug induced. Sometimes it's just stress. Stress can cause somebody to break down. I've seen it. I've seen it in the military. I've seen it in the civilian world. I've seen it, in school where you just had too much pressure on yourself. You're not taking care of yourself, and it causes a breakdown. The body will make you rest. Hopefully, you don't have to rest in peace.
Yeah, you're right about that because your body will tell you. It's like mine told me one day, it's time to go to bed. And I listened, I went to bed. It was like 8:30 in the evening. I didn't push it,
Yeah,
you know.
I'll tell you that jet lag taught me something, man. I thought I was good, lay down that bed 4 hours later. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. What's going on? So, if you listen to your body, but the thing is, the body will tell you what it needs if you learn how to listen to it. Your mind will tell you what it needs if you learn how to listen to it. But the dangerous thing is, if you stop listening, it'll stop communicating with you. It'll stop telling you. And that's when you have a problem because then it'll just keep going till it's almost like if your check oil light stop working and you keep driving a car, what's going to happen? I already know the Black MacGyver knows. I already know he knows what's going to happen, but it can happen psychologically too.
Yeah.
You'll have that breakdown, and that's what I don't want for people. Because a lot of times, once you've had that breakdown, once you've had, you don't just break down. Think about all the people that depend on us. Kids, loved ones, spouses, family members. So take care of yourself. And I teach people, actually, I was taught this and I try to implement it as best I can. It's the power of the three eights. Everybody knows what 3 times 8 is 24. So you try to get all of your work done during the day in 8 hours. You should have 8 hours for your personal time and taking your time with your family. And then you should have 8 hours of sleep. So if you don't fit everything in those 8 hours, then something got to be wrong somewhere. And if you rob the time from one or the other, then you put that back. So there's something that kind of not one of the tools I give my clients, power to three eights, and that was given to me.
I was just looking at some of the comments. For sure wrote, health and wealth goes hand in hand. You can't enjoy one without the other.
That's it. That's it, Michelle. Very
And
good comment. Very real.
and your boy Craig said also same thing you said. Tomorrow's never promised. Dude, I remember um, moving from Chicago area down here. I was in a hurry to go somewhere and ran out of gas. Well, this farmer came up to me and said, "What happened?" I said, "I ran out of gas." So he went back, gave me gas. He said, "Young man, I'm gonna leave you with one thing of wisdom." He said, "I'm gonna leave it to you like this. What's your hurry? It's gonna be there tomorrow." And I remember when he told me that he was right because if you in that fast-paced world in the big cities, you always leaving 15 minutes late and try and get there on time, and it never happens.
You know what's crazy here, and actually shout out to Craig, part of the Impact team, life coach. He's got a every Monday motivational moment that he drops out. You know, he puts out there. So you can go ahead and shout that out. Maybe get that on the website as well. But you know, it's interesting just looking at and observing this culture over here. And I think when you travel, you should take a look at what people do differently, and maybe how they live. Not saying that you have to do everything they do, but you know, only a fool wouldn't look and learn from folks that are living. This place has more people living to 100 than any other place in the world. So what do they do? Well, part of the answer to the other question is that they stay active, they walk, they also don't embrace the idea of having to get more for no reason, right? There are people that there's a family that's a 19th generation onsen operator, meaning that there's been 19 generations. If that's, I can't even imagine that they've just been happy creating a space for peace, for people to come and restore themselves. And I'm sure, probably royalty or kings or whatever they had here that could afford that would go. But now other folks can come and benefit from that. But it's just a culture of focusing on what's most important in life, which is your quality of life, not necessarily things. And if you're in a rat race, they look at you like you're crazy. Like what's the point? So it might be something to that.
I don't know if you listened to the show on Monday. We had Martha Rice on Monday, and it sounded like you listened to the show because some of the stuff that you're saying is intertwining what she was saying. I think she broke things down saying, why are we not seeking help for mental health? And I broke it down this way. Let's ask why Blacks not doing that. Because we're too busy self-diagnosing ourselves, saying we don't need no help. And with the anxiety you was talking about bringing on and everything, a lot of it here in the United States got to do with the rhetoric that we hear every day from our politicians. That's supposed to be our lifeline, but it's not anymore. It's like a death line. Go out and do this. While they sit behind their chair, they're dictating everybody to go out and fight their battles. And when something happens, they don't know nothing about it. So our society is caught up in that world of whatever I say is right.
Well, that, and again, shout out to Martha Rice. It was another one of the impact collaborators doing some great things. I love when I get a chance to listen to her show, and sometimes I go back after it's recorded and listen and to some pointers and things that she has out there. There's one thing I love about the mental health community, life coaching community. We pull from each other, we learn from each other, we grow together because the mission is the same, to help people to live their best life, and in helping them, we try to live our best life. We look at other people and how things go off and how we can kind of help them and also help ourselves in the process. So, I think when you talk about folks of color, we've got a lot of things working against us, and we have a lot of things working for us. In terms of some of the most resilient people in the world are people of color, Black folk, or people that have gone through. And I've heard this saying many times, and I think there's a lot of truth to it. If other cultures would have gone through what we went through, I don't know if they would have made it. We have gone through some of the worst atrocities that have hit any culture. And we still, I think, do pretty doggone well, all things considered, as folks of color. So let's establish that first and foremost, from what we've gone through and what was stripped from us to what we are building and trying to build and have built. But I do think there's some things that we get locked into as people of color. We get locked into survival mode, and survival mode, you know, and sound brag about sound about a car, but I'm blessed to have a BMW back in the States. When something goes wrong with the BMW, it will shift to a lower functioning mode where you won't do more damage to the vehicle. When I hit something or something's gone crazy and it shifts to that safety mode, I kind of think of us as a people sometimes. We function and we have excelled even in survival mode. Imagine if we all get to thrive mode, what we could do. But if you know anything about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if the basic rungs of survival aren't met, the higher levels of self-actualization don't get met. So we've got to get each other to a place where we get past that basic level of survival so that we can get to the thriving level. And that involves understanding our health, not saying, oh, I'm all right, not knowing if you're not all right, pushing ourselves until we break, and then going, okay, now I have to get some help. And, you know, we've got a lot of things that are handed down to us that we adopt as it's right and it's really, really wrong. I'm going to give you one. Everybody heard that saying, what happens in this house stays in this house?
Yes.
Right? Everybody heard that, right? One of the biggest misconceptions in our community. What happens in the house very seldom stays in the house and most likely spills out into the street and also generationally spills into other families, right? So what happens in this house needs to be dealt with in the house by possibly somebody outside of the house that knows how to do it correctly, a therapist or whatever. We have put a lot on the churches in the past. Just go talk to the pastor, give it to Jesus. Well, guess what? There's nothing wrong with giving a lot of things to Jesus, but Jesus also gave us common sense and also gave us wisdom. And some things the pastor is not equipped to deal with. Let's just be real. So, sometimes you need to reach out to somebody whose area of expertise is in dealing with the area that you're sick in. And just like the body can get sick, so can the mind. It's a part of the body. In fact, it's a key part of the body. One of my first offices, I think my first office, if I'm correct, was in a pain clinic. Dr. Wilmarth in Grand Rapids, Michigan, pain consultants. I was able to start my practice in that same office. So you got to think about that. Mental health, pain treatment in the same office, billing the same insurance. So there is a mind-body connection. So the body can be sick, the mind can be too. And you can't go to the pastor all the time for what's going on. In fact, as Ms. Veronica would tell you, sometimes the pastor might even be the problem.
Amen to that. There's a comment right here from Tiffany saying stigma has been handed down through generations, especially for Black men, as they are taught to man up. And then Martha also wrote, we will be amazing because we are resilient and smart. I want to add to that one other thing that Black society, all the way down to slavery, we learned how to adapt to any situation. We didn't say, woe is me. We adapted. When they gave us the scraps, the pigs, what do? Pig feet, chitlins. We
Soul
learned to,
food.
we learned to adapt to any situation. Like when the crisis came down economically, we had white people committing suicide because they weren't making that money anymore. All right, you drop from, I'm just saying 100,000 down to 50,000. Well, we learn how to adapt to back off. Well, we can't do this, we can't do this, we can't do that, and we kept on moving on. So we are very adaptable to almost anything that's going on because I think it's in our DNA that we will adapt to any situation that happens.
Well, you got to remember there's a lot of things in our DNA, right? There's greatness in our DNA. There's natural things that, and I'm going to brag on you a little bit. Some of the stuff that you know how to do can't be taught in school. You literally came back and fixed my central air with a screwdriver. I will never forget that when you did that. I don't know. And the people and remember, the experts that came out to so-called fix it, they broke it. Right?
Yeah.
So, we have learned how to survive, we learn how to thrive, but there's a lot of things we know how to do naturally because we are innovators, we're creators. We, help to define civilization. That's why the pyramids were there, and that's why they tore the noses off of the Sphinx, because they didn't want the Afrocentric features to be shown and let them know that we were civilized thousands of years before they were. The folks from the Caucasus Mountains, Caucasians, right? So, if you don't do history, if you know what's going on, there's a lot of things in our DNA. But also, you got to understand something. We're finding out that trauma is also in our DNA. There's a lot of studies that showing that comes through as well. So we've got to get healthy, not just for us, but for the generations that come after us, so that we can come out of survival mode, which we are doing phenomenal. If they're still being somewhat in survival mode, to thriving mode. That's one of the reasons why, I want my daughter to see a society that's never been exposed to chattel slavery, because there's a mindset. There's a mindset. I was in a school one time, actually twice. This has happened twice. I can't say the name of the school, but I lost my mind when I heard about a child saying to another child, "Oh, I can hit you because that happened to your ancestors, so you should be fine with that." I lost my mind. I almost lost my job, because I kind of demanded the child be suspended. You know what I'm saying? That was not my role. I'm not an administrator, but I understood the psychological harm that could come from that, right? And I didn't let up. We kind of got into it, like, this is do we really want this to get out? You know what I'm saying? That you're letting Becky go back to class after she said something like that? Because what message does that send to Becky and her name wasn't Becky, just to let you know. But you understand my point?
Yeah.
There's a societal script that's given in a society that hasn't quite come to grips with what happened in chattel slavery and afterwards. And I know people don't want to, especially in a society where, in a time where we have, what's it called? Critical race theory. Well, the reason you got to know about the past is because we haven't completely healed from it. Yes, scars can last for hundreds of years, and financial deficits can last for hundreds of years. So that's why there's some great work in reparations that are going on. Shout out to Grand Rapids, Michigan, the historical association for Auburn Hills, and my grandparents and others. The triplets, the Adams, that started that neighborhood. It's important to understand where we came from and give homage and also teach the story so we don't go back there again. That's the bottom line. Because when you start destroying history, trying to keep people from knowing their history, that's when you're trying to repeat history. That's exactly what's going on. It's not that we're trying to hate. I mean, people of color have fought in pretty much every war that this sacrifice our lives, our opportunities for this country. And then you have the audacity to say we can't teach about our story. No, it's not happening. At least not on my watch. I'm always going to teach history.
I hear you on that.
That's just how, because it is American history. What happened, and it has to be told. We don't have to dwell on it. I'm not saying that you re-victimize yourself, but how are we going to victimize ourselves anyway? We didn't enslave ourselves in the first place. Now we can re-enslave ourselves by not knowing how we were enslaved and continuing the Willie Lynch scenario, me having a problem with you because you're lighter skinned than me or darker skinned than me or whatever the case may be. But if we didn't know about Willie Lynch, we can continue the Willie Lynch foolishness.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important to know our history. Economically, socially, and mentally, we have to know where we came from so we don't end up continuing the nonsense. And that's how we're going to kind of go back full circle. And what time is it? Oh man, we didn't went over a little bit. What I think?
No,
Oh,
no,
no,
no, no.
we
We're
good. We
good.
good. All
We're
right.
good.
So
See.
watch how I loop this in. We get all we have to address all those things so that we can start focusing on our mental health. Right.
Right.
It's a full experience we have to deal with economically, mentally, spiritually, all of that. We have to understand it. We have to understand what we've gone through and understand what we need to be trying to reach to. And that we don't have to be locked into just one particular mindset from one particular culture or country. We're a global people. People of color are the majority of this world. I just found out that to be a samurai, you have to have African or African American African blood in you. You have to have at least 5% to be a full samurai. Didn't
Wow.
know that. And I'm gonna tell you something. The energy and the modulation I get from the culture over here is nothing but positive.
Mm.
Nothing but positive. And I'm talking about from every economic level. You get nothing but positive responses. Now, some people may, if they do have a negative response, I can't sense it. I can, and I've looked. In the States, I sense it.
Yeah.
I can see it. I can see. Look at who is that? Look at what he's driving. Look at where he's living. I bet affirmative action has something to do with it or whatever. Well, if it did, it did. It didn't in my case, but if it did, it did. Affirmative action probably had something to do with their case. Right? Meaning that their father probably benefited from their father's exploitation of some other folks, and that's how they're in their situation. But we don't talk about that, right? We just talk about brown and black folk getting an advantage. Listen, until we all get on the same playing field, we won't ever be the United States of America.
America.
It's united when we all have the same playing field and opportunities for it. Now, of course, there's always going to be folks that fall short.
Right.
Nobody said that everybody's good because some people just have less ambition than others, period. Got it. But the playing field has to be equal, at least in three areas: education, healthcare, and that includes mental health care. And the last area is just, I'll have to say it, the judicial system. It's a mockery to me. And we got to point it out that Trump is still walking around while he's indicted over 70 times. Who else gets to do that? Let me or you get indicted. And are we just going to be able to live in Mar-a-Lago until they decide to convict? Is that how that works? It's a whole lot of people probably in prison right now going, what in the world is going on?
You got that right.
So I guess the Asian attendant that, made the comment that, Japan is still a civilized society. Hey, we keep making that a little more valid every day that the orange-haired wonder is still walking around.
I was talking to somebody the other day, and I think they got mad at me for what I said, and I really don't care. It was this white man talking to me. He said, all the immigrants need to go back to their countries and all that stuff. I looked at
You
him
mean to
dead in
be the
his.
first one on the ship,
I
Ron?
said what I said. I said, you're an immigrant. No, I'm not. I was born here. I said, what about your ancestors? They were immigrants. And you talking about you want to send the immigrants back home? I said, you could be on the first boat going back to Europe. And he just looked at me, and I think it dawned on him that, yeah, we are immigrants. So I
You
just
know,
called him out.
well, it's a lot of things that people convince themselves of when they don't want to hear the truth.
Yeah.
And any lie would do when you don't want to hear the truth. But you know what? The truth is right in front of you. Look at where we came from. Look at what we've been through, and we still here, and we swinging, and we hitting, and we knocking it out of the park. Look at every single field that we're in, and it's going to be one of us at the top of it,
Yep.
or groups of us at the top of it. How does that happen? When everybody else had a 200-year or more head start, how did we end up? I mean, look at any other type of race. You end up right there. Look at every president that we've had. Now, people can say what they want about Barack Obama, but you can't tell me that he wasn't one of the most intelligent, articulate, brilliant presidents that we've ever had, period. And he happened to be African American, Black, whatever you want to, however you want to look at it. But that still resonates with a lot of people. They can't stand them. They can't stand them because they were conditioned to think that we were less than. And when less than ends up being better than, it's hard to deal with. It's
And
called dissonance. It's called
and
cognitive dissonance. Look it
yeah.
up. And I knew it was going to be a problem. And I still pray for him. I still pray for the whole family. The whole
Yeah.
family, because there's some people that if you can't accept what you see, then you try to destroy that. And that's what has happened throughout history. If you go back and look at what happened in Egypt, they couldn't accept that the Sphinx was made by people of color, so they tried to destroy it.
Yeah.
That's how that works. But the reality is, the truth needs no witness. It's the truth either way.
So, oh wow. We did good today, Joseph.
Think so. We
We
got
did
18
real
minutes
good.
left.
We did real good. So all I can say is y'all take care out there. Me and Joseph talked off here yesterday, like we normally do it. He said the GPS out there didn't steer me in the right direction.
Man, boy,
So
I'm telling you. Fortunately, I'm on an island, and eventually I got to end up in the right place.
yeah.
Uh, but let me tell you something, T-Mobile, boy, if you had a beat machine, boy, T-Mobile, let me tell you something. You come to Japan, you better have something other than T-Mobile. Don't cut off my phone right now, but you better have something other than T-Mobile if you're trying to get around, because T-Mobile will have you driving around in a circle, saying you're in a different spot.
Yeah.
Glenn talked about it's the Army. No, it was the Navy that was driving me around. I can't say that. Boy, mess around.
Did you
I
hear what I
can't say the
said?
Navy's good. You
Did
got
you hear
me
what
out here saying the wrong stuff,
you hear
man.
what I said earlier? I said
No,
Joseph getting lost. He's gonna end up in South Korea.
messing around with these doggone GPSs that ain't working right.
Yeah.
We know land nav. I'm good on land. On the water, hey, I don't have a clue, so I'm gonna have to depend on Glenn
Yeah.
and folks for the water, because it's the water. How do you know? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Turn what? This wave, or what? I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you?
I
You
like what he
know?
just typed. He just said Army. That's
Yeah.
all. He just typed just Army. Okay.
Anybody
Hey,
thinking
I
about?
won't get I won't get hold of your buddy Craig. If you could text me his number. Um
I got you.
and I text his number so I get a hold of him and stuff. But no, everything's going good here. What you coming across here, a lot of people saying much needed information, because some of the stuff we tackle on the show that people are like, what's the old saying? It's taboo. Nothing's taboo anymore. You have to talk
Man,
about it. In order to know about it, you have to talk about it.
listen, I don't know. That's if I'm gonna be scared about one thing about this younger generation, it's social skills. Um, you know, not being able to talk, communicate, eye contact. I'm a little bit concerned about that. So every opportunity I get, I like to have forums. I like to hear what they're thinking about, what they like, and then kind of get that discourse to happen. Because one thing I do know, if you don't talk, we won't know what's going on with you.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't want to find out the hard way what was really going through your mind, when we don't have any more time. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't have any time right now.
Yeah.
But so with that being said, your actions speak so loudly. I can't hear a word you're saying. And I got to get ready to get my 8 hours on to get my sleep. So
All
with
right,
that being
brother.
said, man, it was always a pleasure. And the Impact YouTube channel is up. My wife and started getting it hooked up. I haven't even put the content in there yet. What we're going to start doing is we're going to have an Impact Hour recap. So we're going to go back to the beginning of all the shows, and we're going to drop 2 episodes, and we're going to bring some new information, kind of recap it. When we started, we only had like less than 1,000 people listening. Now we're up to 12,000, so we can see that evolution. And we're going to be dropping mindful moments. You'll be seeing some live because right now it's nighttime. So I'll be bringing some things during the daytime so you can kind of see the beautiful Japanese environment and culture, and seeing how we're taking care of ourselves as well. So you got my wife's channel that's launching too. Is I underscore Tiff, put that thing on the comment. It's I underscore am Tiff underscore something underscore. I am Tiffany Lee underscore. I don't know. It's I am Tiff. What is this thing? uh, but it's I underscore am underscore Tiffany Lee underscore. I believe.
All right.
But hey, take a look on on the Tiff can put it in the chat, so it'll be on here. And then we also have the Lee's Overseas channel that we'll be putting together. So it's some beautiful stuff over here. You'll get to see how we're taking care of ourselves. My wife has a phenomenal testimony, being a 2-time cancer survivor, and just thriving and having a ball over here and just enjoying life. And that's what it's about. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I want to share with you something. I dug around, and I found the very first episode, and I already tagged it episode 1. So I
Oh,
know what I could do with everything else with it. And the first episode was, if I'm right, June 29th of 2022, almost a year ago.
wow, man,
So
man.
I did find that one. I mean, Joseph, you had me going crazy. I said, let me go find this because I'm curious myself too. So
Yeah,
now, so now I'm going through, which is gonna be a little time consuming, but I'm going through now. Now I can mark episode 1, 2, 3, and all that. And I'm changing it a little bit, saying episode 1, then they read it, and then at the end of it, say Impact Hour, it'll show the date. So that
outstanding.
long date on there is going away. So I'm just tagging it as episodes now. So I got episode 1 on there right now. Now I know what
Okay.
2, 3, and all it is now. And doesn't matter me sitting down there and start doing it. But I should have that update shortly. You know.
Well, I'll tell you what, brother. I'm going to put the first 2 up. I was going to do it tonight, but since you're still working on it, it gives me a little more time.
Okay.
The producer is going to be on me now because I was supposed to put the 2 up. I'm about to go to bed. I
Okay.
don't care. So I'm gonna put the first 2 episodes out there to call it the Impact recap, and then you're also going to have our GPS presentation with working with the Guide Right program, our mentorship program in another folder. I'm gonna have you help me with that. But we've got some folks, that want that continue that. Shout out to San Antonio alumni chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi and the Guide Right program. We're gonna take number 1 back, even though I'm in Okinawa. I'm still showing love there. Also to Grand Rapids alumni chapter, the GRAC. Working with them, and just some great folks that do great work, working with the youth and getting them scholarships, getting them to college. Got to shout out Mike Brown, Mike Remo, and Grand Rapids alumni chapter. Got to shout out my boy Sean, who's Dr. C, who's also a part of the Impact team. We're about to do some things and try to get some folks and to be entrepreneurs and creators. We're going to have a segment called From Concept to Six Figures, where we show people how to take that concept and not just create for you, but create for your kids and your grandkids.
Yeah.
And we got some wealth builders on the team, and we're going to, kind of get everybody hopefully up to that level and also do it in a healthy space. That's most important thing, right? Because you can have
Yeah.
all the money in the world, and if you're not right mentally, it don't mean a doggone thing. So, with that being said, your action speaks so loudly, I can't hear a word you're saying. So I'm going to sleep. You
All
got the
right.
episode one. Hey, as long as you keep two ahead, then I can keep
I'm
going back to eight.
I'll have some of that
So,
stuff done hopefully by the first 10 by the end of this week.
man, that's outstanding. That's outstanding. See how I got you working, man. See how I got that in there.
But that's all right, man. That's all right. And I'll be sending you some stuff today that you asked me to send you. I'll get that mailed out today and everything. But Tiffany did come back say I underscore am underscore Tiffany underscore Lee.
That's it.
And
That's my baby.
also I'm gonna give Tiff a hard time because she put down on in there quote unquote Ron could go with a screwdriver and a car would start up. Thank you, Tiffany.
Man, you a legend around these parts, man. You a legend around these parts. I've seen you pull off some. Tell you, boy, if you give you a rubber band and a toothpick, ain't no telling. You can probably fix one of these airplanes out here. I don't know.
Oh man, let's not
We'll
go there.
see.
They be calling me. All right, brother.
They might.
All right, you take
All
care
right,
and be safe.
all right, you too. Yeah, bye
Okay,
bye.
bye bye.